Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the online ANZAC commemorative service hosted by the Australian and New Zealand communities, including the Advance Australia Council, made up of the Australian Alumni, ANZWIG, Auscham Thailand and Australian International School and Thailand Tigers, together with the New Zealand Thai Chamber of Commerce and New Zealand Society. We'd like to start the service with a welcome speech from Paul Stevens, the Deputy Head of Mission at the Australian Embassy. Paul.
Well, good morning again. It's a pleasure to welcome you all to this virtual Auscham ANZAC commemorative service. Clearly, this is a very unusual way to be commemorating ANZAC Day. It's an unusual way to remember the courage and sacrifice, camaraderie and mateship displayed by service women and service men from Australia and New Zealand in so many theatres of war and peacekeeping, defending our societies and our way of life. It's an unusual way to recall the bravery of the original ANZACs as they stormed Gallipoli Cove in 1915, facing terrible odds and a better prepared and positioned enemy, not knowing at that time the role they would play in forging the identity and culture of two countries, Australia and New Zealand. It's also an unusual way to reflect upon, much closer to where we are all living now, the hellish conditions suffered by Allied prisoners of war as they forged the cutting for the Thai-Burma Railway at Hellfire Pass during World War II. But these are unusual times. We are facing a global threat that is changing the way we live, as well as causing widespread anxiety and suffering and loss and deaths. And I know that many of you in the business community have been feeling the effects of the pandemic. Many of the speeches and comments made by world leaders and other commentators today, when they refer to COVID-19, invoke warlike imagery. Some countries are even adopting warlike footing to deal with the effects of the pandemic, but it would hardly be appropriate, however serious is the threat of COVID-19, for us to compare the sacrifices we are making now to those of the original ANZACs or other servicemen and women since then. We can still draw on their courage and selflessness to inspire us in confronting the obstacles that we face. And in these unusual times and on this special day, even just a little of the ANZAC spirit will give us great strength and comfort. So please stay safe and lest we forget. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Now to speak on behalf of the Australian and New Zealand communities, a long-term resident of Thailand and also a Vietnam, Lee Scott Camus. Lee.
Thanks, Brandon. Good morning, all, on this special ANZAC Day event. My deepest thank you to Auscham for the arrangements and a very warm call out to our New Zealand comrades. As you know, ANZAC Day in Thailand has always been sadly but proudly unique, given the tragic events that took place here so long ago. We started the day with the dawn service at Hellfire Pass to remember our Australian and New Zealand fallen, and then moved to Katchaburi Cemetery for a service that also involved all of the other nations that were involved in that terrible situation. Both events have always been well attended, and of course this year being on a weekend, we would have expected significant attendance. Hellfire Pass, of course, is very special, as we said before, to Australians and New Zealanders, particularly when we attend the dawn service. Hopefully next year we can return to the past to show our respect and gratitude to those who gave so much to preserve our way of life. We have in the past been honoured by the attendance of Australian prisoners of war, Who can forget the humility and courage of Neil McPherson, Harold Martin and Snowy Fairclough in making the effort to pay respects to their past comrades. Hellfire Pass is also being attended for the dawn service by our Governor-General. I'd like to also make a call out to the Thai government and the Thai armed forces who have over many years been great supporters for our activities at Hellfire Pass and at the cemetery on ANZAC Day. There are very few of our men and women left today from the two world wars, and it's critical that we and the generations yet to come do not diminish our commitment to remember their sacrifices and their ideals that gave them so much courage and devotion, lest we forget.
Thank you, Lee. Can we now ask everyone to be upstanding for the playing of the Thailand, Australian and New Zealand national anthems.
Australians, all their hearts rejoice, for we are young and free. We've golden soil and wealth for toil. Our home is earth by sea. Our land abounds in nations, our beauty rich and rare. In history's paper, every state had fonts of Australian fair. In joyful strains that never seen, advance Australia fair. God of nations, at thy feet, with the bones of the deep, hear our voice. voices we entreat. God, defend our free land. God, perfect triple star from the shores of strife and war. Faith, praises, heard afar. God, defend you,
Thank you. It's now at this time that we ask you to light a candle. If you have a prepared candle, we'll just provide a minute for you to light your candles. And we now ask everyone to be upstanding again for the playing of the last post, which will be followed immediately by a minute of silence, and Lee Scott Chemist to read the Ode of Remembrance. Remember, when Lee finishes, the audience will repeat, "We will remember them."
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them. The closing speech, we invite James Anderson, the Deputy Head of Mission at the New Zealand Embassy. James.
Thank you, Brendan, and good morning, everyone. I would like to conclude this part of the commemorative service with a reading from a letter that was written on 5th of August 1915 by Lieutenant Colonel William Malone, who wrote his last words to his beloved wife Ida on the eve of Chunuk Bair campaign on Gallipoli. Over the next 2 days, he would lead his men, the Wellington Infantry Battalion, eventually taking the New Zealanders' objective, the summit of Chunuk Bair. Quinns Post, 8:10 p.m, 5th of August, 1915. My sweetheart, in less than 2 hours, we move off a valley where we will be up all night and tomorrow in readiness for a big attack. I expect to go through all right, but, dear wife, if anything untoward happens to me, you must not grieve too much. There are our dear children to be brought up. You know how I love and have loved you, and we have had many years of great happiness together. I am prepared for death and hope God will have forgiven me all my sins. My desire for life, so that I may see and be with you again, could not be greater. But I have only done what every man was bound to do in our country's need. It has been a great consolation to me that you approved my action. The sacrifice was really yours. May you be consoled and rewarded by our dear God. Your loving husband, W.G. Malone. Malone led his men up to Chunuk Bair the next night. He was killed when hit by a New Zealand artillery shell on 8th of August, 1915. Like countless families across Australia and New Zealand from all wars, Ida Malone was devastated by her husband's death and mourned him until the end of her life. The women and men who have served and made the ultimate sacrifice are given our thanks and held in our hearts and minds. We will remember them. Thank you.
Thank you, James. This concludes our online ANZAC commemorative service. We thank you all for attending, and we now encourage you to tune into either the Australian in Thailand or New Zealand Embassy Bangkok, Thailand Facebook pages to watch our ambassadors lay a wreath on ANZAC Day. Thank you.